Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry that we are late here today. You know, I like to be consistent, right? So just had a little technical glitch here that we had to work through, but we're here. We made it. So we're live. I'm excited about today's show, no doubt about that. I'm going to be joined this morning by Alvin Hope Johnson of Multifamily Monopoly out of Dallas, Texas. Some of you people know him, some of you might not. Whichever way you are this morning, you're going to get a lot out of today's show. Absolutely no doubt about that. The thing I want to talk about real quick is consistency, right? I try to be here every week at the same time, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. So if you're new to the show, go wake somebody up, grab them, get them here because we're going to have an unbelievable show this morning. And if you're somebody who listens in all the time, I'm sorry. We just had some glitches this morning, but consistency is really important. It's the consistency in our life and the things that we do over and over again that cause us to be successful, to move our business forward, to move along personally. And, I always talk about we can't grow professionally until we grow personally, right? So consistency is one of those places we need to start. And I've heard it talked about a lot that, consistency, just getting up every morning and making your bed and doing that one ritual every day will build into your life. The consistency of picking up the phone and making those sales calls or going out and knocking on doors, doing what you need to do to grow your business, to move your business forward. The consistency in what we do, building into the mundane fundamentals, the things that we do every single day over and over again. It's like when I would teach my kids Little League, right? And I taught them how to field ground balls over and over and over again. And they'd be like, Coach, can't we bat? Can't we hit some pop-ups? No, not until you learn how to master the fundamentals. And that's what we all need to do in our life. So what we're going to do this morning is bring our guest in. Before I do that, though, I want to remind you, if you're new, please follow us. Go out to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, LinkedIn. You will see relevant content come up all the time, all week long. I'm here to bring good insight, good speakers, good guests to my shows. We're here every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And then again on Thursday, we do Thursday Morning Live, which is a local area show for local entrepreneurs in Chicago. And today it's beautiful in Chicago. The sun is out and it's just great. So glad that you're here. So I'm going to bring our guest in, Alvin Hope Johnson. Alvin, you ready? Come on in, buddy.
Hey, Mike.
How you doing?
Man, never better. Doing great today.
I am so excited about you being here. You and I got on this morning. And I said, how long we've been trying to do this? And at the same time, we said about a year.
Yeah.
It's been about that long. So I'm glad we finally get together and chat.
Well, I'm glad to do it today. I feel like I've grown over the last year, and I would probably be embarrassed of the guy I was a year ago.
Listen, I have a lot of respect for you and what you do and, how you come across. I think you and I originally met on Clubhouse, if I'm not mistaken, and in one of those rooms and just kind of have communicated and talked. And you're always so kind and say you learn from me, but I just want you to know, man, I learn a lot from you. So we're kind of in the same space, but different spaces. But hey,
thanks.
Yeah. Hey, here's one thing that I always want to ask my guests. So
yes.
It's in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
One word. I'll say tenacious is one word. But then on the personal side, I'd say giver.
Tenacious is a big word. I always tell the story. I didn't know what that word meant. I was probably in real estate 3 years doing real estate sales. And I walked in a guy's house and he said, man, Morawski, you are the most tenacious guy I know. I said, oh, thank you. I didn't know what it meant, right? So graciously I go, oh, thank you. And he goes, and I go home, I grab the dictionary and I look it up. I go, oh, that is me, man. Yeah. I had a mantra selling real estate, I follow up with you till you list or till either you list or you died. So
Well, that makes success, right? They say the money's in the follow-up.
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell anybody, if anybody's online this morning, you want to throw a chat in the comment box, please do. If you want to ask Alvin a question or have a question for us, we'd be happy to get those answered for you this morning. So, Alvin, what makes you tenacious?
Mike, I didn't have a backup plan. Um, I graduated high school and I didn't go to college. So I didn't have a degree to fall back on, if I can use that term.
Yeah.
So I had to eat, had a family when I was young, 21 years old. My son was born. And man, I remember people talking about how he was getting teeth and, and I was like, man, this kid gonna need some meat here in a minute. It's like, oh, he's getting so big. And I'm looking at his feet going, man, he's gonna need some shoes because he's walking. So there's just never been anything for me to rely on other than my faith and my ability to have to go work or get to go work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we come across that, right? And then you said giver as another one. And, you're probably the first guy in 200 episodes that wants to use two words. So let's talk about your second one.
I have come to believe that we can't outgive the ultimate giver. And I love what Zig Ziglar said, that if we can make enough people's dreams come true, how easy it will be for ours to come true. So, and I paraphrase that, but
yeah,
that's been really probably the basis of how I've been able to be where I am today by looking out for those around me just as much as I look out for myself, and we've come up together. Even when there was almost nobody there, there was always one person somewhere that was either praying for me or cheering for me.
yeah.
And even when we don't know it, and then when we get, out of that funk that we've been in, because I've been in funk a couple of times, and look up and there's that person. And so for me to be able to give back, I heard somebody say it this morning, that when somebody does something for you, sometimes in most people, it creates a situation where we feel like we have to do something nice for that person. Well, I think that's been one thing for me. But then I flipped it and said, what if I were the giver first? I heard somebody talking about giving a tip when you sit down at the table for the restaurant tour or for the waitress. How that's a gift, but it also brings some level of expectation for that person that's serving you, right?
Yeah.
So I just love being a giver, man. God's given me so much, so many opportunities, that I love to share my opportunities with others, and it just creates waves of just giving and receiving.
You sure sound like you have a grateful heart.
Yeah, I am very grateful. A lot of grace has been shown to me, given to me, and for that, a lot of gratitude is yeah, definitely owed or due.
So, so talk about your background a little bit. How'd you get here? There's some uneasy walk along the way, and how'd you get here?
Man, I started as a paint contractor. Well, I started as a painter, as a helper, painting $1 million, 15,000 square foot houses back in the early 80s, right out of high school. And fast forward, paint contractor, renovator, GC, building houses, mortgage company. But I think the pivotal part that got me here after all of those experiences, in 2008, I had an opportunity to volunteer for a guy that had 16,000 units of apartments. And that volunteerism, giving, helping to make his dream come true, put me in a position to where I sat at the table of what today would probably be a close to $2 billion company. And when my mentor and friend died, I became the president of that organization and had an opportunity to walk it through a liquidating bankruptcy. So I learned this business at a time like in a not great part of the climate, economic climate, 2009-10, from some of the smartest attorneys in the country, how to unwind an opportunity. So when you unwind a deal, it kind of teaches you how you can structure deals going forward. And so I got that experience. And then after that was over, I had an opportunity to take the company that we have today, Hope Housing Foundation, which is our charity, where we own all of our affordable apartments and provide affordable housing opportunities. We took that company with no resume and said, "Hey, man, let's go buy some apartments. Hopefully, we can do that." So we named the organization Hope Housing Foundation. Me and the board that was constituted, they hired me, and we set out to go do that. And so for the last 12 years, we've been owning and operating Hope Housing Foundation. Well, not owning. Hope Housing has been owning and operating a couple of thousand units of affordable apartments.
Okay.
And today the mission is to grow that to about 20,000 units within the next 5 years.
Nice.
So that's our umbrella.
Can you talk about Hope Housing a little bit? What is Hope Housing? Who do you guys serve, and what's that model look like?
Well, the Hope Housing Foundation is a 501c3. The mission is to provide safe, decent, sanitary housing to the economically challenged and workforce communities across America. So that's just about everybody. So that's either low income or gray collar workforce housing, right? So the mission there is, again, to grow it to over 20,000 units in the next few years. We're doing that through a new construction model of syndicating deals with partners and putting together. It's only 100, 200 unit deals that we have to do.
Sure.
So that doesn't sound like a lot. It's 20,000 sounds like a lot. When you say 100, that's not that many. And so the goal is to find the right partners that want to do some sustainable, eco-friendly, near net zero housing, the best housing on the planet. And guys like you, Mike, that are allowing me to share this message, going to help me find that right partner. And so we're doing that. We've got about 1,000 units that we're going to break ground on this year around Texas, and next year we're looking to start about 3,000 units. Oh, we also have some up in Wisconsin that we're going to close on this month as well. So we're not geographically challenged, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So here's a couple of things, and I have a big interest in this, right? Because I run a prison ministry from my church here, and I think there's a big need in the marketplace for some of these men and women coming home from prison that are struggling getting back on their feet and can't find housing, right? So talk to us about the model a little bit as far as you say it's affordable housing. What does that mean? And does the resident pay anything? Is it all government subsidized? Do you have to be, are you getting tax credits? Is there bond deals that it's, how's that going together for you?
There's several different models for that, but I think the education needs to start with what is affordable housing. And that was a great question that you asked. And I believe that affordable housing that definition is defined by HUD. And it has to deal with your area median income for your particular zip code. And it goes from 120% of that area median income to 30% or below of that area median income. So let's use an area like McKinney, Texas. Area median income is 100,000. So if you're at 80%, which is where most of the subsidies are set aside for housing start, at 80% of that 100,000, you're making $80,000 a year. So at $79,999, you qualify for a set aside for affordable housing because you're below $80,000. That's affordable housing. Most people don't think that at $80,000 you qualify for that. But now get down to the $50,000 resident. Oh, and so let's go into the model of what that means for rent. Most people can pay 30%, or that definition of affordable housing is 30 to 35% of their monthly income for rent. So if you got $80,000 a year, I don't know, that's about 77. Let's see, I'll do the math real quick. Divided by 12, that's 66 a month times 30% of that. That is right at $2,000 a month. They can probably find some place to live pretty decent for $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that wouldn't seem to me to be affordable housing. I mean,
But that's a true definition of it.
yeah.
So when a lot of these community activists are coming out and opposing affordable housing in their communities, they're probably opposing themselves or their neighbor at $80,000.
Yeah.
But now when you get down into the $50,000 range, now you're at $3,500 a month, and now you got a $1,200 a month that you can pay towards rent. In a market where the area median income is 100,000, a $1,200 place to live becomes a little more difficult to find.
Right.
And then if you get down in the 30% income bracket, it is almost impossible for that place to find.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that those units get built most of the time are through 9% tax credits. And those tax credits offset the cost of construction, because that unit that costs $200,000 a unit to build in Princeton, Texas, costs the same thing to build in that neighborhood where the area median income is $30,000 or $50,000. The
Yeah.
units cost the same. And so that subsidy from a 9% tax credit or some TIF dollars or wherever you can layer funds to close your capital stack helps to set aside those units so people can hopefully afford them. So that's what an affordable housing model looks like. We've used tax exempt bonds to purchase and renovate existing properties. So by having a tax exempt bond, we can get a little more leverage on those and allow us to rehab those really, really nice. And then those are 40-year amortization. So we've got really low interest rates on those. So that allows us to provide some level of affordability that way as well. And then on the market rate side of housing, we're doing that through multifamily monopoly. And that's where we're in markets where the area median income is 100,000 plus, where there are no tax credits. And Anna, Texas, another $100,000 area median income market. There are no tax credits, but there still is a need for workforce housing. A guy that's making $100,000, he can't find a place to live for $2,500 a month because there's just not any inventory of housing.
Yeah.
So we're helping to fill that need as well through that for-profit model.
So I know, a couple of the things is that there is a need in this country for housing. We have a housing shortage. They say right now there's more cranes and temporary fences up in every city in the country than there's ever been. And if everything got delivered today, we'd still be a couple of million houses short for people. So, the housing shortage, but is there a bigger shortage on the affordable housing stuff than just everyday workforce housing?
Well, Mike, I'll tell you, I've heard some people that I consider to be pretty smart say that there's not a shortage. I don't know why they say that, but the inventory is being bought up by large funds that for taking a lot of the inventory off the market. I don't know if that's right or not, but there's always a need for affordable housing, and it's getting more so every day. As we hit some of the highest inflation we've seen in 30, 40 years, everything's going up. Rent's going up 15, 16% over the last couple of years, over and over and over. So when you talk about affordable housing, that person that made $40,000 last year doesn't go near as far this year.
Yeah.
And so, that $1,500 a month rent probably is $1,700 this year. And their check didn't go up $400 to be able to compensate that. So absolutely the need for affordable housing is becoming more and more across the country.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like it's something that is probably pretty easy to do, and maybe not easy to do, but some infill stuff. Like if I look in Chicago here, there's so much opportunity for infill for vacant land. All the neighborhoods there's empty lots. And I think part of the problem is some of these sellers want way too much money for the land. Which you have to go up, and then there's those city restrictions. You can only go up so high. So the whole city lot dilemma, right? But I think there's a lot of opportunity here for that kind of stuff, because affordable housing, it's back to the conversation we had a little earlier about these men and women coming out of prison and not having a place to live if they had a place to go. And I don't mean a halfway house situation, but I mean a place they can afford where they could sustain themselves, go get a job, and not return back.
Well, I'll tell you, Mike. There are a couple of things with that recidivism. Most apartment communities have really, really strict guidelines when it comes to background checks. And as apartment owners, we have to, because we're liable for the rest of the residents that live in that community. And so when we have a violent offender apply, and especially under our affordable housing guidelines, we have to treat everybody the same. Well, under any kind of housing guideline, you're supposed to treat every person the exact same.
Right.
And so that becomes a problem with the background checks for people returning to society from prison. But one of the things that we're wanting to do, or in the process of doing, to curb the recidivism is through our trade school. So with us building these apartments, we are setting up our SIP plant, our own structurally insulated panel plant, that will have a trade school component that will be able to train individuals to be able to be carpenters or even subcontractors or entrepreneurs to go and be SIP qualified to build these units that we're building. And we've also got some master electricians, HVAC guys, and plumbers that are going to be part of the trade school that will be able to teach licensed trades. So that hopefully that'll help. We're going to get some of the participants from the Texas penal system that have had recent, nonviolent offenders released. We're working on that process now. And so there are a lot of ways to, as I said, make somebody else's dream come true, give somebody else a second opportunity.
Yeah.
But also in doing that, it's building a workforce that we need to establish to complete our apartments. Everybody's having a labor shortage. We think we can curb some of that. And we're just doing good while doing good. So, that's one of the things we like to work on.
Well, listen, here's the one thing. Not all offenders are the same, and because
That's
they get
correct.
treated the same, it's kind of a sad case, right?
It is.
Because you've got you've got white collar guys, you got drug guys, you got guys that made a mistake, you could and then there are the violent criminals, right, and the sexual offenders, and there is a difference in some of that stuff, and to treat everybody the same, I think, is a shame. Now when we're talking about treating all of our private investors the same, that's a different story, right? When we raise private capital and we put a deal together, and so but that's I don't know, I struggle with that, because
when I say that, let me clear that up, Mike. When I say all crimes are not treated the same when people look at background investigations.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Better way to put that. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey.
A misdemeanor is not weighed the same as a murder case, or a drug offense is not weighed the same as you have 500 pounds of meth in your car.
Right. Or a couple of grams.
Right. No, they're not weighed the same.
Right. Hey, so it sounds like you do something in your business structure where you bring together nonprofit and the profit world. Did I pick up on that, or is that not something you do? So do you create an entity anywhere in what you're doing that brings the non-for-profit and the profit world together?
Well, there are two different verticals.
Right.
Two totally different verticals, and they have to be totally separate. So I wear two hats, and I wear about 15 hats, but we have an operation dedicated directly to Hope Housing Foundation and the management of those assets and the growth of that organization. And then Multifamily Monopoly, we have a team dedicated to the education process of that and the growth of that company as well, through our being a totally vertically integrated construction company, all the way down to acquisitions, financing, the education part of that, and delivering units to our students and clients. So two different verticals that work really well together.
Yeah. Okay. Do you like one better than the other?
It's all real estate. For me, it is, we're bringing people together on two different playing fields that can sometimes merge.
Mm-hmm.
Do I like? I like the education piece that we get to do through multifamily monopoly.
Yeah.
And at some point, that's where the two merge, because we do a lot of the educating for free. And so that educating that way is done as a charitable give back part. So I love that part. And I get to share, I won't say knowledge, but I'll say all of my years of experience
Yeah.
in the real estate space with others. So yeah, that part is back to the giver part.
Yeah. Right. I was just going to say that's part of you being a giver, right?
Right.
So, hey, so I don't know if you met Nolan, a guy from Omaha who's building the factory doing modular housing. It might be a great match for you.
I have not.
Yeah.
I have not.
I should introduce you guys because what you're talking about, training these guys, putting them to work, he's going to be doing something similar, training guys, he's building a factory. It's a pretty large deal that they're doing, and they're going to build modular housing, sustainable modular housing, so a little different than what's already on the product or on the market today. So I'll connect you guys. I think
That's
it'll be
great.
Yeah, good connection for both you guys.
Yeah, we're modularizing our bathrooms in our units. And so as part of our SIP plant, we were either looking at a partner that can build our modular bathrooms so that we can set those bathrooms in place finished, or just make it a part of our plant as well. We're putting in 100,000 square foot plant here in the DFW area for the panels and trusses. So we're looking for a partner. So that'd be great, Mike. I look forward to that introduction.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, top two pieces of software technology that you like today that you use in your business, in your world, that help you, stay on track.
Excel is probably the one that I use the most. Do all my models and everything in Excel. And then I think the one that I'm liking second is I don't even remember the name of the CRM that we got, but it's a CRM and customer retention something. That's what they tell me. And I'm learning to use that and my calendar so much that I think, Mike, that's part of the reason we didn't connect a year ago. I wasn't using my calendar as much as I am now. But and those are simple things. So I'm all over my iPhone, but the simplest tools that I use the most, again, are Excel and a calendar.
Yeah.
Those two things help guide me and keep me within the bounds of where I think I need to be.
Yeah. And I'm old school too, right? And you and I got a couple years, but I still keep notes, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I look at my desk and I go, God, I just want to throw everything in the garbage and start over again,
Well, you can see junk in the background around me now.
Yeah. It's crazy, but there's some technology stuff that's good, and some other stuff I think that just is makes it encumbrance, and it's kind of tough. But how about where do you see? I know what I wanted to make a comment. You said that some of these groups are coming in and buying up a lot of product on the market. Blackstone just came to Chicago again and bought another couple thousand units. So,
that's where your inventory is going.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how they're getting some of this stuff, but I do know that the market is shifting and changing. And before I say anything about that, I want you to talk about that. What are you seeing in the market? What are you seeing as a shift and a change in the market? Where are we headed?
Well, I haven't been in the multifamily space that long. So I started in 2008. But I can tell you in the lending space, I was in the mortgage business prior to this, and I see a lot of the same things happening that we saw in 2006, 7, and 8. I'm seeing stated loans coming back on the market. And when you start seeing that, and you can see where any and everybody can get into the lending space with no license, then that means there's a plethora of money, way too much money, and something's going to stop or change it. Now, what that is, Mike, I have no idea. We are all believing that there's a housing shortage. We're all believing that people are going to continue to rent and rents are going to continue to go up. So I'm very hopeful that I don't know whether to say I'm bullish on it or not, but we've put a lot of resources into knowing that if we can build today, that 5 years from now, hopefully we'll look like a hero because we've come out on the other side of whatever we're going to go through, and we'll have a pretty substantial portfolio of units that are sustainable, that are really efficient, that are low energy consumption, good for the planet, and not something that we've put a lot of lipstick on. And these things will be here for a long time.
How long does it take you as a builder to go from, hey, this is my thought and my idea for this piece of land, to come out of the ground?
It's been about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can move that quick.
Well, in this particular property the one that I'm talking about, that's been a year, when we bought it, it was shovel ready.
Okay.
So we took it and we bought it with plans and everything. We took those plans and redid them to make them work for our efficient system. And so it's taken a year to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we put the land under contract last April. And as of February this year, we were putting in underground wet utilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, that's always been the one thing for me about development stuff, is I always thought that, I like Class B workforce housing. I buy a business, I walk away from closing, I'm collecting a coupon right away. I don't have to wait 3 or 5 years for that to start coming back. Obviously everybody has different temperament on that. So, I see this market shifting somewhat. I think you're right. 2008 is when I started to implode and come off the rails. By 2008, I think we owned over 3,000 units, and with a heavy footprint in Dallas, and really saw the market change. I remember sitting at lunch in 2008 with my CFO, and the news was on, watching them carry boxes out of Lehman Brothers by the dozens.
I remember that.
I looked at across the table and I said, "We're screwed, aren't we?" He said, "Yeah, we're going to be in big trouble." And I don't know that I knew the magnitude of that comment at that moment, and I didn't know where we were going. But Lehman Brothers, AIG, Bears and Stern, Countrywide, who was that lender out of Florida that was scamming and went upside down, and it's crazy what happened to the world in that time frame. And I thought, man, this is just a recession, 17, 18 months, but here we go, 7 or 8 years, a 40% correction. How did you watch people mitigate that storm? Are you seeing that happen again, or what are you seeing?
Well, my experience at that point was unwinding an organization in a bankruptcy. My founder had bought probably 7,000 or 8,000 units with some really bad financing tied to the 10-year treasury in the early 2000s. And man, as that 10-year treasury changed in 2007 and 8, he began to have really big margin calls when there was no debt service, probably no debt service prior to that. And so you go from no debt service on some deals that are financed to having to make substantial debt service payments on a biannual basis where there's no cash. It was a bad deal.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Lehman Brothers that had both of those portfolios propped up to refinance, like August and September of 2008. And then when they went out, I think it was somewhere around October, you could see that particular ship, you could see the rudder start to come out of the water. And So navigating through that, we had a bankruptcy plan that we were able to work with some of the partners or lenders on from a debt perspective that could have allowed that organization to float and come back 10 times stronger. But because the founder was no longer there, there was no motivation to do that, and everybody just wanted out. So
Yeah. It's crazy. And here we sit today. I didn't mitigate the storm very well. I came through it. You mitigated the storm. I talked to a guy probably over the last 2 weeks, and here's what he said to me. He goes, man, I got hit so bad in 2008. I haven't wanted to pick the baseball bat back up again. I've not wanted to go back out there and do any real estate stuff. He goes, I just can't bring myself to it. And so I think you got a couple of ends of the spectrum where people said, hey, screw it, I'm going to go make this happen, and I'm going to do really great and walk through it. And then you got the other end of the spectrum where people go, man, I can't do it again. I just lost everything. I lost my wherewithal and my ability to go. And
I feel sorry for that guy.
Yeah, I do too. And that's kind of where I was going with that. Is I do feel bad for him, and life is about those stumbles and those struggles. I mean, you've had them, I've had them, we've all had them. And it's how we recover from them, and how we move beyond them. So what do you think, so here, what drives you today? What really drives you beyond staying stuck?
I ask myself that a lot, Mike, but I haven't seen my dreams come to fruition yet. And I believe part of my dreams are part of my purpose for this season of my life. And so since I haven't seen them, and I haven't seen them, but I've seen them, then it just pushes me to just continue.
Yeah.
Because my dreams they include so many other people other than me. And so which brings me to a topic of a book I picked up back in 2013. John Maxwell, Put Your Dream to the Test.
I love John Maxwell. He has written some great books, that's for sure. And leadership and business quality stuff that is just. So what was one key principle out of there?
Well, I think it may be the forward or in chapter 1, there are 10 questions that he asked you about the dream. And I couldn't get through the first 3 or 4 questions with a yes answer. So I never finished that book. About a month ago, I picked that book up and I started reading it, and I got through chapter 1, and I was so excited because I could literally answer yes to every question in that book about what I believe the dream is. And so then, he goes on to say, if you can do that, you're probably 99% gonna make it happen. And so does that mean it's a real small dream? I don't think it is, but maybe it is. Maybe I'll look back 5 years from now and think that was too small. But I know a year ago I couldn't get there, and today I can see it in my head, because if we can't see it, we'll never be it.
Yeah, right.
But so it's just exciting to watch my own growth. It's just so fun.
Yeah, and this stuff, and you embrace this stuff, but it doesn't make it easier, right? It's still,
absolutely.
Just because you think a little bit differently doesn't make the journey easier.
No.
Just because we visualize the end result or getting it over the finish line doesn't make it any easier, versus the guy who lost everything and didn't bounce back. It doesn't make it any easier for any of us.
Not at all.
I think it's
I was just listening to Grant in Clubhouse when we first got on.
Yeah.
And in the social media room, and talking about he's going to do a 4-hour summit today for 150,000 people for free.
Yeah.
A billionaire at 63 years old,
Yeah.
But he knows that from this free training, he said, this will help me get my skills down, because next week, all of the people that didn't do it for free, we will have an option to chop it up into pieces and sell it off for $1,000 a person. And we'll probably sell 10,000 units.
Mm-hmm.
So always trying to get better, always selling, never stopping, never settling. And that's just a big motivator for me, because a lot of times guys get to 50 years old and they start looking towards retirement. And I'm like, what is that?
Here's what you told me a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know if you'll remember this. You were on your way back in the car from Miami. You had just left Grant's deal. And you said, I downloaded his book and I've been listening to his book over and over again on the way home. I said, well, Alvin's probably got something. Alvin's a little bit smarter than I am. So I went and downloaded his book, and I've probably listened to it 3 or 4 times since we talked. And, the thing about Grant is you either like him or you hate him, right? I don't think there's an in-between. And he's got so much good stuff. And he, but he didn't get there overnight. Just like you and I. It took him 20 years to be where he's at. So he didn't start till he was 40, 43, right? Look at us. I mean, listen, I got another 40 years I got to go. So I got to get enough out of this package that, this hand of cards. So,
well, I know I'm a little bit 100 and I'm going to have a high quality of life. And what we do right now, I don't consider it work. So I can do this for a pretty long time. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's all about relationships, right? It's all about building relationships, and I feel fortunate that you and I get to build this one. So, hey, let's chop it up a little bit. Best book you ever read?
21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
John Maxwell.
John Maxwell.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great Christian author, great motivator. Just seen him a number of times, and really great job.
Second best book, The 10X Rule.
Okay.
Grant Cardone.
All right. How about best tourist attraction?
Mike, I'll tell you, I hadn't seen many. I've been to Chicago. You guys have some there. I hadn't seen any. Man, I've had my head down for 30 years working. When everybody else was doing vacations, I was working.
There's an honest answer.
So ask me in 5 years.
All right.
Okay.
There's an honest answer, though. I love that. So how about best restaurant?
I'm a sushi guy.
Okay.
So anything sushi, a good one. I love it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. Well, Alvin, it has been awesome this morning. I appreciate you. I appreciate your giver spirit, your gentle heart, how you do this thing. And you know what? I said this morning, I said, God's got a plan and it's all in his timing. So a year ago, this might not have been as nice, and now it's perfect. So
that's right.
I appreciate you. My hat's off to you. And whatever I can do to be supportive or help you, I certainly will along the way. How do people get a hold of you? Thank you. I appreciate that. How do people get a hold of you?
Alvin at multifamilymonopoly.com is my email, or Alvin Hope Johnson on all my socials.
Perfect. And I'm going to move you to the back room. If you hang out with me for a minute, I'm going to say goodbye and we'll make it a wrap. So
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, that was Saturday morning multifamily unplugged with Alvin Hope Johnson. And man, what an episode. We talked about some things that I love this Saturday morning unscripted, right? I never know where we're going to go, what rabbit hole we're going to jump in and how we're going to work through that. But we talked about a lot of things. We talked about profit business, nonprofit business. We talked about affordable housing. We learned some fundamentals around it. So there's a lot of meat here today. I would go back and listen to this a couple of times, download it, listen to it in your car. There's a lot of information and a lot of knowledge here. So if you want to connect with Alvin, do that. Today's show was brought to you by the GOB Network. Remember that the GOB Network is having an event in July 13th and 14th. I actually have the honor of speaking at the event. It'll be 2 days of powerhouse networking. Hopefully Alvin and some of his team will come up for that. But the GOB network is really designed about helping people do multifamily deals. So it's all going to be about networking. There should be 500 or 600 people there. If you are looking for a ticket, you need a discount code, give me a call, message me. I will get you that discount code. Remember, coming up over the next couple months, I'll have a multifamily acquisitions boot camp, and then the summit in October, which will be 3 days virtually of 20 speakers from around the country. So I look forward to an action-packed summer here this year. Spring or summer's finally coming to Chicago. The sun is out today. It's a beautiful day. So there'll be some bike riding, and no better place to be than in the city in the summer. So, hey, thanks everybody. We'll be back here next week. If I can answer any questions, be of any help, or do anything for you, don't